Okay, so this is a little segment I'm doing just on defining the difference between knowledge and belief, because it's quite important. It's going to actually really help people be able to see who's there, who would be masquerading as if they're there for your freedom. It's really going to help you discern the difference between those who are actually there fighting for your freedom and those who are masquerading and profiting off giving you the belief that they're there for your freedom. So here we go, the knowledge. Knowledge comes from the Greek. It's from the Greek word gnosis, which means to know through observation or experience. So knowledge is a vibrational energy that is neutral, it's constant, universally discoverable, and verifiable. It cannot be created nor destroyed, only transferred. So you think about how we always say, knowledge is transferred, right? And it's transferred because we can discover it and it can be verified, right? And it's always neutral, it doesn't have an opinion. Knowledge gives clear direction to the actions that lead to freedom for all. So that's really critical, guys. Anything that doesn't give you clear direction on how we're going to manifest freedom for all is not knowledge. All right, next slide. Let's see if I can get that up, and we'll move to this one. So vibrational energy that is not in the service of freedom is not knowledge, but a belief. Now, the word belief has got the word lie in it. There's very good reason for that. In stark contrast to belief, which requires convincing through sustained repetition to bypass internal resistance, knowledge encounters no resistance as it stems from the very source energy of which we are all a part. Therefore, knowledge transcends belief. So I'm hoping that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to go into any further explanation on that one. And now I'm going to go to the last slide on knowledge before I move on to belief. All right, as knowledge is the acceptance of truth, its energy field is greater than that of fear. Hence, the only energy powerful enough to dissolve the paralysis that comes from being captive to fear. So anyone who accepts knowledge will have the capacity to dissolve being captivated or captive by fear. When one comes to know, they access courage, and courage is the universe's protection against spiritual sickness. Right? So if you think about that, think about any time you've really come to know something, even though you might experience fear, it's not the last place that you stop. You will always come out of that place of knowledge, and that will drive your actions. So that's why knowledge is one of the most powerful forces we can actually access, because it drives us into places where fear can't. Fear only paralyzes us. So now we're going to move on to belief, so we can see the contrast here. Okay, let me bring up the first slide. The noun belief replaced by the Old English word Galiafa, meaning belief or faith, in the late 12th century. A belief is an idea one usually holds with conviction and importance. That's pretty self-explanatory, don't really need to do much more with that one. Now the next slide. So here we go, this is where it's been broken up into its parts, Belief. It's like, never mind. Is in opposition to knowledge, as it is not universally discoverable, nor verifiable, and subject to change. Now, we always say that your beliefs can change, don't we? All right? So that's how they're actually in diametric opposition to one another, knowledge and belief. Belief comes from the energy that pursues the confirmation of one's individuated preferences, biases, prejudices, and or proclivities. So if you really think about it deeply, right, if you come to believe something, it's not going to be shared by everyone else, right, where knowledge can be. It has that capacity, where belief doesn't, because it's a very private experience. And usually some private experiences require you to enforce it in order for others to come to accept it, because it's private, where knowledge isn't private. So I've got one more to put up. And not that saying that, having preferences, is a negative thing. It's when you actually pursue Have I done a double share here? Is that what I've done? No. All right. It's when you pursue it and demand it, that's when it becomes problematic, because you're coming from demand energy. So belief is in the service of self-indulgence, otherwise known as want. You know how we always go, I want, I want? Well, that is usually when you're pursuing a belief. And therefore, you're not considering the consequences for others when you are after what you want. And one only needs to look out the window to see what's happened today by, you know, the majority of people acting out of what they believe and going after what they want. So that's that instant gratification they're after, without consideration of the consequences for others. Where knowledge serves a higher order of consciousness, that is, or that being, willing to, when one is willing to, they are aware that they are acting out of the common good, right? So what is going to benefit all of us? That's willing to energy. And willing to energy aligns with our innate capacity for natural giving. So what natural giving means is just when we give from the heart, because we are wanting to enrich the life of others, because we innately know that our life is connected to all other life. And so our well-being is dependent on the well-being of those by which we are dependent on, because we cannot live alone. If we did, things like solitary confinement would be a joy for us, but it's not. So we have that capacity for natural giving. And that's what willing to is, when you're willing to give to others from your heart. Where want is a closing off of giving to others, and it's a taking energy. So it's in contrast. In contrast to knowledge, action driven by belief increases the likelihood of violence and chaos, which are the conditions required for slavery. So if you really want to take a deep look into that, and you want to see how it is we've been enslaved, is because we've been all operating to me, I want, right? So the conditions have been set up so that we fall for this. And that's why we become good slaves. And if you think about what's happened today, none of this would have been possible if we were coming out of willing to energy, where we were totally aware of that our well-being is connected to the well-being of others. It would never be divided that way. So I'm hoping that gives some clarity to the difference between knowledge and belief, and also empowers you guys to be able to see, you know, the people out there who keep using words that make it seem like they're there for your freedom, but they never define them. And as soon as they don't define them, that means they're leaving a big gap open for you to define it for yourself, and you're going to define it the way that it suits your biases and prejudices, you know, and preferences. Whereas if they define it clearly, then there's no chance for any interpretation, and then we're all working off the same reference. So that's going to do it for this one.